body in the burning field. The battlefield still smoked when Riven arrived. Broken metal, burned ships, and pieces of armor lay scattered across the ash-covered ground. The air smelled of melted plastic, blood, and fire. Above him, the sky was dark with dust, and far behind, the human dropship hovered like a shadow, waiting for his signal. He didn't send one. Not yet. His boots crunched across black soil as he stepped over a twisted drone. His scanner beeped low and slow. Life signs. None. Strong, just flickers, just echoes. He was about to turn back when he heard it. A small sound. Not a machine. Not wind. A breath. Barely there. Riven raised his rifle, scanning the rubble. Then he saw it. Half buried under a chunk of fallen armor. Something moved. He knelt. Beside it, it was a body. Small. Thin. Alien. Her skin was pale violet, burned in places. Her chest armor was cracked open. Her eyes were shut. Her breathing was shallow. A young girl. Not human. Not one of his. She was the enemy. He should have left. That was the rule. No help for enemies. No rescue, no kindness. Especially not for her kind. They were known for killing prisoners. They gave no mercy. Expected none. But this girl, she was different. She wasn't armed. She wasn't fighting. She was broken. Riven looked around once more. No movement. No others. He leaned closer, checking her pulse. Weak. Then she opened her eyes. Just a little. Her lips moved. No sound came at first. He leaned closer again, and this time he heard her. Help. Me. His heart stopped for a moment. Not because of fear, but because of how she said it. Not like a warrior. Not like a trick. But like a child who had already given up. He didn't speak. Didn't answer. He just pulled a stim patch from his belt and pressed it against her neck. She flinched weakly, but didn't resist. He lifted the armor piece off her body and gently wrapped her in a thermal sheet. She was cold. Too cold. As he stood, holding her, his comms crackled. Scout 4, report. Are there survivors? Riven looked down at the girl in his arms. He waited 3 seconds, then answered. No survivors. All enemy units confirmed dead. Copy that. Extraction ready. Sending route. He cut the call. Inside the dropship, no one asked what was in the wrapped blanket he carried. No one saw her face. He kept his voice quiet. Kept his eyes hard. They didn't question him. Riven had a reputation. And right now, that was the only thing, keeping her alive. He placed her in the med bay, locked the door, and sat beside her. She was unconscious now. But her hand had gripped his wrist for a few seconds on the ride, like she was afraid he'd vanish. He didn't know her name. He didn't know why he had saved her. Maybe it was the way she asked. Maybe it was the fact that she asked at all. He had seen hundreds of bodies in this war. No one had ever asked him for help like that. The medbot scanned her silently. Fractured ribs, internal bleeding, burns on 40% of her body, and something worse, an old scar across her shoulder, the mark of her own kind, a brand. She had already been hurt before the battle, already thrown away. Riven sat back in the chair, watching her sleep. Why would they leave you behind? He whispered. What did you do that made them walk away? She didn't answer. But her fingers twitched under the blanket like she was dreaming of fire, or maybe remembering what it felt like to be found. The girl who didn't want to live. She woke up to the sound of air moving through vents. Soft light blinked above her. Clean. Warm. Not like the battlefield. Not like the screaming. Her body ached. She didn't know where she was or who had touched her. Her first instinct was to hide, but her body didn't move. Her arms were wrapped in soft fabric. Her wounds were sealed, but her muscles still burned, and her eyes, they only opened halfway. Riven saw her stir from across the medbay. He didn't move. He sat in the corner, arms crossed, back against the wall. He had been watching her for hours, just in case she woke up, and tried something, but she didn't attack. She didn't scream, she just blinked, slow, unsure, and then turned her head away. "You're safe," Riven said quietly. She didn't reply. "You're on my ship. No one here is going to hurt you." Silence. Just the soft sound of her breathing and the slight shake in her hands. He stood and walked over. She tensed. Her fingers curled. Her eyes widened in fear. He stopped 2 steps away. "I'm not going to touch you." She still didn't speak. He placed a cup of water on the small tray near her side, then stepped back. "You don't have to talk, just rest." He turned and walked out of the med bay. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. She stared at the water for a long time. Her throat burned, but she didn't drink. Not yet. Memories flooded her mind. The battlefield, the explosions, her commander shouting, the burning wreckage, and then nothing. Until the human. Why had he touched her? Why had he not left her like the others? Why? Did she still feel the warmth of his arm holding her when everything else had gone cold? Hours passed. She drifted between sleep and pain until hunger pushed her past fear. She reached for the water. Her hand shook so much it spilled, but she still drank what she could. Riven returned later, with soup. Not military rations. Something he made. She didn't look at him, but he placed it near her bed and said nothing, just sat back down in the corner. After a long pause, she spoke. Her voice was dry, thin, almost a whisper. "Why?" He looked up. "Why what? Why did you help me?" Riven didn't answer right away. He leaned forward, elbows on knees, then said, "Because you asked." She stared. "You listened?" "Yeah. No. One ever does. I'm not everyone." Her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away fast, angry at herself. "They said I was weak. You were wounded. Before that, I failed in training. They said I was better off broken." Riven frowned. "They branded you, left you to die. They were wrong." She shook her head. "You don't understand. My people do not save the weak. I'm not your people. Then why do you care?" He stood slowly, walked toward the tray, picked up the empty cup, looked at her with calm eyes, and said, "Because I've been called weak too." She stared at him like he had just spoken another language, then whispered, "They left me behind like trash." Riven looked at her, firm, steady, and said, "Then maybe it's time you learn what it feels like to be kept." She didn't reply. But that night, for the first time since the battlefield, she fell asleep without fear in her chest. Hunted by both sides, Riven knew it wouldn't stay quiet for long. War had rules, and saving the enemy broke everyone. For 3 days, he kept her hidden in the back medbay. He locked the door, wiped the logs, and rerouted the ship's sensors to block any alerts coming from that room. He told himself he was just giving her time to heal. But deep down, he knew the truth. He didn't want to give her back. Her name was Kayla. She said it one night when he brought her food. He hadn't asked. She just whispered it while staring at the ceiling, like she had been holding it in for too long. "Kayla," she said again, soft and careful. "That was the name my mother gave me, before the soldiers took it." Riven nodded once. "Then that's what I'll call you." They didn't talk much after that. But the silence between them wasn't cold anymore. It felt like something fragile, trying to become something strong. On the 4th night, the trouble began. Riven's ship received a high-priority signal from Fleet Command. A message flashed on his screen. "Report to Central Unit. Violation of battlefield protocol suspected." Didn't answer. 5 minutes later, another message appeared. "You are carrying a non-human life form. Confirm." He stared at the screen, then shut it off. He turned around and found Kayla standing in the medbay door. She had heard everything, her arms wrapped tight around her own body. "They know," she whispered. "I know," he said. Will they take me? They'll try. She stepped back into the room and sat on the floor. No fear in her eyes this time. Just sadness. This always happens, she said. No matter where I go, I'm a threat. You're not a threat to me. But I make you one. Riven walked over and sat beside her. I already made my choice, and I'd make it again. A few hours later, the warning lights blinked red. 2 ships were approaching. 1 human, 1 not. Both armed, both silent. No hails, no signals, just movement. Kayla stood near the viewing panel, her hands shaking. They're working together, she said. Riven nodded. Your side wants to erase you, mine wants to erase me. Then where do we go? Anywhere they can't follow. Riven powered up the engines. The ship rumbled under his feet. Kayla didn't sit. She stood beside him at the co-pilot seat. Her breathing was slow, but steady. This isn't your fight, she said. You're wrong, Riven replied. The moment I carried you out of that fire, it became mine. Missiles launched behind them. Riven turned hard left. Alarms screamed. Kayla held on, but didn't fall. The stars spun. The planet below faded into shadow. But the 2 ships still chased. Kayla moved to the comm panel. What are you doing? Riven asked. Sending a false signal, she said. It will look like we crashed into the asteroid belt. Can you do that? I was trained to break systems before I was trained to speak. Within seconds, the trackers on both enemy ships blinked, then vanished. Kayla turned to him. They'll search for wreckage now. We'll give them some, Riven said and jettisoned a piece of the hull, then aimed for deep space. They flew in silence for a long time. Kayla leaned her head against the wall. We're both traitors now, she whispered. Maybe, Riven said. But at least we're not liars. She closed her eyes. They said I'd be forgotten. They were wrong. The soldier and the scared voice. The storm came fast. Solar flares from the dying sun nearby swept across the system, cutting all long-range comms and scanners. Radiation burned across space in waves, forcing even warships to hide. Riven's ship couldn't outrun it, so he dropped into the gravity well of a broken moon and slid beneath the surface into a deep canyon. There, hidden under stone and shadow, he found an old bunker. Abandoned, silent, and safe, for now. Inside, the walls were cracked, but the power still worked. Barely. He sealed the entrance and locked the ship's systems down, then turned to Kayla. We'll have to wait it out, he said. How long? A few days. She nodded without speaking, then walked to the far corner of the room and sat with her knees pulled up like she had done in the med bay. Riven didn't ask questions. He just watched and waited. Hours passed. Neither of them spoke. The wind outside screamed against the rock, but inside it was too quiet. Finally, Kayla broke the silence. I was 5 cycles old when they took me. Riven looked up. She was staring at the wall, not at him. I failed my first combat trial, she continued. I couldn't lift the blade. The others laughed. The trainer said I'd be broken by 10. Riven said nothing, just listened. They tried to fix me, cut into my nerves, burned parts of my skin to force growth. When that didn't work, they branded me. Her fingers touched the scar on her shoulder. It means unfit. Once they mark you, you're not part of the line anymore. You eat last, sleep last, and if you die, no one buries you. Riven's hands tightened into fists. Kayla turned toward him slowly, her voice cracked. So when you found me in that field, I didn't believe it. Believe what? He asked. That someone would carry me. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I thought I was a thing, not a person. Just something to leave behind. Riven stood up, walked over, and sat down on the floor beside her. Do you still believe that? He asked. I want to stop, she whispered. Then start now. How? He looked at her, really looked. By letting someone stay. They sat together in the corner, 2 broken souls from 2 broken sides. But the silence between them was no longer sharp. It was soft, like the beginning of a new shape. That night, Kayla stood beside the firelight, holding a piece of Riven's toolkit, not to break it, not to throw it, but just to feel the weight. "Your hands are rough," she said. "Yeah. Lots of work. No magic." "My people don't build," she said. "I noticed." She looked up. "Maybe that's why I didn't belong. Or maybe," he said, "you were just meant to build something else." The storm continued above, but below, something stronger was growing. When the enemy returned for her, the storm ended on the third night. Silence returned to the galaxy. Signals flowed again, and with them came death. Riven was repairing a damaged coolant line near the ship when his wristband blinked red. Motion detected. Not wind, not animals. It was precise. Timed. Moving like soldiers. He looked up, and in his chest, something sank. They had found her. He ran back to the bunker. Kayla was already standing near the exit, staring at the monitor. 3 red dots, closing fast. Her hands were shaking, but she didn't move to run. "They're from my unit," she said. "How can you tell?" "The formation. It's how they trained us. Silent 3-point sweep. They want to catch me alive." Riven grabbed his rifle and checked the charge. "Then we're not giving them what they want. You can't fight them all. I don't need to. I just need to slow them down." He looked at her. "Get back to the med bay. Seal the door." She didn't move. "Kayla," he said firmly. "Go." But she stayed frozen. Not from fear this time, from something else. "They'll hurt you," she whispered. "I've had worse." "They won't stop until I'm gone. Then we stop them." Outside, the air shifted. Shadows moved between the rocks. The first soldier dropped into the canyon silently. Riven stepped outside and raised his rifle. "That's far enough," he called. The leader stepped forward, helmet smooth, eyes glowing. "Human," the voice said. "You are interfering with a retrieval order." "This isn't a retrieval," Riven replied. "It's cleanup." The soldier didn't deny it. "Step aside," the voice ordered. "We will take the defective one. We will not harm you." Riven didn't move. "You already did." They raised their weapons, but before they could fire, a sound came from behind Riven footsteps. Soft, slow. Kayla stepped out into the light. No armor, no weapon, just her. "I'm not going back," she said. The leader turned its head. "Unit K-73, you were marked unfit. You have no voice. Then why are you still listening?" The second soldier moved to flank her. Riven raised his gun, but Kayla held up a hand. "Stop," she said. Her voice shook the air, not with volume, with strength. The soldier paused, not because of fear, but confusion. "You are not one of us," the leader said. "I never was," she replied. "You are choosing a human." "No, I'm choosing myself." They raised weapons again, but Riven fired first. He dropped one of them. Kayla ducked behind a rock and shouted, "Left side coming fast." Riven turned just in time and shot again. The third soldier fell, but the leader was still standing. Strong, armored, ready. He aimed at Kayla, but before Riven could stop him, Kayla moved. She stepped in front of Riven, not behind him, in front. The beam hit her chest, but something inside her stopped it. Not tech, not magic, just pure force of will. Her eyes glowed, not from fear, from fire. "You were made to lose," the leader said. "No," she answered. "I was made to survive." And she lunged forward. Her fist hit the chest plate. It cracked, then shattered. The leader fell backward, stunned, and Riven fired one last shot. Silence returned. Riven lowered his weapon. Kayla stood still, hands shaking. He walked up to her. "You, okay?" She nodded slowly. "I didn't hide." "No," he said. "You didn't." The bond they tried to erase the galaxy had no place for them now. Riven's name was flagged across every human command channel. Kayla was listed as a rogue traitor by her own kind. Every port, every planet, every border patrol showed red lights when their ship got close. They had nowhere to land, nowhere to hide for long. But somehow, it didn't feel like running. Not anymore. Riven upgraded the ship with stolen parts. They didn't have credits, but he had skills. Kayla learned fast. She helped rewire broken panels, patched hull fractures, and even fixed the food generator. At night, they shared small meals in the cockpit. She spoke more. He listened more. And the silence that once separated them now felt like peace. One night, while checking the star maps, Kayla leaned closer to him. "We should go beyond the patrol zones," she said. "Too dangerous," Riven replied. "Not for us." "You really think we'll survive out there?" She looked at him with steady eyes. "I didn't survive because I was strong," she said. "I survived because someone didn't give up on me." Riven didn't say anything for a moment, then smiled. "Then let's keep surviving." Days passed, then weeks. Kayla changed slowly. Her voice grew stronger, her steps more confident. She started. Wearing old gear Riven gave her, not to hide but to protect. Not because she was told to, because she chose to. During a supply raid on a remote mining post, a human soldier spotted them. He raised his weapon, shouted, "Traitor!" But before Riven could react, Kayla stepped between them. "Lower it," she said calmly. He hesitated. "Do it," she said again. He lowered the weapon, not from fear, but from something in her eyes. They escaped. Again. But this time, Kayla didn't hide afterward. She sat near the ship's window and said quietly, "I'm not the same anymore." Riven looked at her. "You never were what they said." "I know," she replied, "but now I believe it." Later, Riven gave her an old comm crystal. "What's this?" she asked. "A secure channel. Your name. Your voice. It'll be out there. You want them to find me?" "No. I want others like you to hear you." She held the crystal in her hands for a long time, then said, "This is Kayla. If they left you behind, you're not alone. I survived. You can too." Her voice traveled through hidden systems. Small, quiet, but strong. And somewhere, in the shadows of the galaxy, someone heard her. The day she stood in front of him, they caught him on the edge of the black drift. A hidden net of gravity mines pulled Riven's ship down before he could break orbit. Engines failed. Shields cracked. They swarmed the wreckage before Kayla could even reach the controls. Riven told her to run. She didn't. He was taken to a cold metal chamber. His hands were locked, his weapon stripped. 4 soldiers stood around him, 2 human, 2 alien, all wearing the mark of high command. He had no trial, no defense, only a question. "Where is the girl?" He didn't answer. So they hit him. Not to kill. Just enough to punish, to remind him of what he broke. On the other side of the station, Kayla moved through the vents, silent, fast, focused. She heard the guards speak her name. She saw the files flashing across their screens. Unit Kayla, target for execution, eliminate on sight. But she didn't stop. She reached the chamber door, and then did something no one expected. She walked in. Alarms didn't go off. She made sure of it. Her old code still worked. They hadn't erased her completely. But now, she would erase their control. The soldiers turned in shock. Riven looked up, blood on his face. "Kayla." But she raised her hand. "I'm not here to run." The highest officer stepped forward. "You should have stayed in the ground where we left you." "You tried," she said. "You belong to neither side." "Good. Then who do you belong to now?" Kayla walked toward Riven, slowly, calmly. She stopped in front of him and said, "I was once left to die. Now I choose who I live for." She pulled a blade from her back and threw it at the ground. It sparked. A hidden pulse lit the room, knocking the guards back, shorting the lights. Riven kicked upward, grabbed a fallen weapon. Kayla moved beside him. They fought together, not as soldier and prisoner, not as human and alien, but as something new. The chamber was empty 2 minutes later. Alarms screamed, but they were gone. They returned to deep space, scars on their skin, but fire in their hearts. Riven leaned back in the pilot seat. "You didn't have to come for me," he said. Kayla smiled. "You were the only one who ever came for me. They didn't need a flag. They didn't need a side. They had each other. And now the galaxy had a story. About a soldier who broke the rules. And the girl who stood in front of him.